What if I told you that I am the happiest motherfucker in the world right now because I got fired from my job? You probably think that I'm joking, that the title is clickbait, and I'm just trying to sell you a course on why you should quit your 9 to 5 and start an OnlyFans or some shit. But for real, when I tell you that getting fired from my job is one of the best things that has ever happened to me, it actually really is. If you want to find out why, stay tuned because throughout this video, I will be answering that question piece by piece. First, I'll provide a little background about myself. I'm a 22-year-old college student from New York, majoring in business. I'm also a self-taught musician and have been pursuing music production as a passion for 6 years. At first, I was going to school for music production until I realized I wanted my education to take a different approach. I also wanted to focus on building a business around music, hence why I didn't just change my major, but I also changed schools as well. For the most part, switching things up did work out in my favor. Also, given how personal this subject is for me, I won't be including the details of how and why I got fired, but it is worth understanding the background of a terrible work environment and how that can affect a person. And finally, if you are a fellow Gen Zer like I am, you'll definitely want to pay close attention to this video. Now, before we get into it, I do want to make it clear that this video is not being made to slander or defame the people or company I used to work for. The reason I created this video is to share my story and educate listeners on workplace toxicity. The individuals mentioned in this video will not be referred to by their actual names. Likewise, the name of the company where I was previously employed at the time of this video will remain undisclosed. Now that that's out the way, let's get into it. So, I was working retail as a part-time supervisor. My responsibilities included overseeing opening and closing procedures, as well as leading a team of associates to drive sales. Let me explain exactly how I even got to this position. My performance greatly reflected my experience in several areas, particularly customer service. After being promoted from associate to a cashier specialist and staying in that role for 2 years, I recognized the potential I had to step up into a leadership role, so I took it upon myself to ask for promotion, because why not? The store manager I worked with was the replacement for a previous store manager who transferred to a different location. As a result, the culture switched dramatically, and I wasn't the only one who felt this. The vibe was different, the fun activities we used to do stopped, and unnecessary changes to how we did business were put into motion. From here on out, we'll refer to the replacement store manager as Jane. When one of our full-time assistant managers left, I took that as an opportunity to ask Jane if I could be promoted to the part-time equivalent of his position. After she agreed, I went through the vetting process, completed the paperwork, and eventually my position was finalized. When I got promoted, I thought I was going to be heavily involved with managerial responsibilities and develop myself as a leader, like everyone else. However, Jane's behavior made it painfully obvious that that wasn't going to happen. Remember when I mentioned that I was a cashier specialist before getting promoted? Instead of stepping up my responsibilities like what was supposed to happen, I was being thrown at the register time and time again every single shift. Day in and day out, I was ringing customers unlike the other members of management. This went on for months. Needless to say, I was exhausted, frustrated, and in desperate need of a change of pace. I tried talking to Jane about moving me from the register multiple times and kept getting handed excuses as to why it couldn't even happen. It wasn't until one of our full-time managers spoke up about it that I was able to break out from the register and actually embrace my leadership role. Jane gossiped about my performance in front of a coworker of ours on several occasions. This was brought to my attention by said coworker, by the way. More specifically, Jane negatively criticized how I handled paperwork despite being a newly trained supervisor. Even after I got better and faster at completing my tasks, my work ethic didn't satisfy Jane not one bit. Oftentimes, when I held business-related discussions with her, the responses would be heavily one-sided, dispassionate, and the conversation would be quickly dismissed compared to those of other team members. Furthermore, when it came to me, she hardly acknowledged the hard work and dedication I put into the business. There was one person in particular, however, whom Jane was very, very fond of, especially compared to everyone else. Allow me to introduce Sarah. Sarah was a cashier specialist who you may as well consider Jane's prodigy. I, along with several other employees, did not see the potential in her that Jane did. For context, she was unprofessional, couldn't handle pressure from customers, constantly flirted with male employees, and the worst of all, smoked vape in the break area. Yes, she actually did that shit, which is a whole nother discussion. Jane refused to acknowledge these issues. In fact, Sarah had a huge beef with one of the supervisors, who we'll refer to as Diana. It was so bad that she gossiped, avoided her, and was insubordinate towards her as well. One situation between them was even addressed by Jane, where Sarah insulted Diana. Sarah and Jane had a one-on-one discussion about it, where Sarah completely denied insulting Diana at all. And to no one's surprise, Jane believed her, and no repercussions were dealt. Eventually, Diana got so sick of the toxicity and one-sided behavior that she decided to quit. Can't say I blame her. Despite the problems surrounding Sarah, Jane took it upon herself to promote her. People were pissed, y'all. It was obvious that Jane had a unique relationship with Sarah that was exclusive to them. Although Jane would deny having favorites when people started gossiping about favoritism. After Sarah's promotion, instead of being strung along like I was, she was immediately handed managerial duties and quickly succeeded Diana due to Jane practically grooming her to become a supervisor. Even while Sarah was making the same errors that I made early on, Jane was extremely supportive and never criticized her performance, not one single bit. When it came to Sarah, there was no hint of gossip about her coming out of Jane's mouth, because she just loved her that much. Evidently, Jane didn't see any value or potential in me as an employee. I got promoted sometime around the holiday season, the busiest time of the year for stores and retailers, which I'm beginning to believe was the only motive for Jane promoting me in the first place. Being that she was down a manager, she needed the support. But in the long run, she didn't see me becoming a fully fledged manager compared to the rest of the team. A lesson to take from this video is not to let anyone downplay you. Be aware of your potential, talents, and qualities that make you unique, while becoming a stranger to those who want to take advantage of you. Thank you for making it to the end, and I hope you enjoyed this story time. There's a lot more that I could share about my previous job, but I might save it for another video depending on how well this one performs. Despite getting let go, I'm continuing to live my best life and pursue my passion as a producer. Seriously, I honestly couldn't be happier, y'all. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful day.